Your grocery bill went up again last month. It went up the month before that. And nobody in Washington is coming to fix it for you. The produce you buy every single week, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, salad greens, has quietly become some of the most expensive real estate in your grocery cart. And every dollar you spend on it is a dollar you did not have to spend. Because here is what the grocery store is not telling you. Every single vegetable on that receipt can be grown on your porch, on your balcony, in your driveway, in containers that cost less than 1 week of groceries. No yard, no garden bed, no special equipment, no experience required. I am not talking about a hobby garden. I am talking about a food production system that pays you back every single week from first harvest through last frost. Real vegetables, real savings, real food that tastes nothing like what sits under fluorescent lights waiting for someone to buy it. Today I am giving you 8 vegetables that actually thrive in containers. Not just survive, not just struggle through, actually thrive. Each one with the right container size, the right variety, the right zone information, and the real savings math that most gardening channels never bother to calculate for you. Drop your US state or USDA hardiness zone in the comments right now. Every vegetable on this list performs differently depending on where you are growing, and I want to make sure what I tell you today actually applies to your porch, your climate, and your seasons. I read every single comment. Let's go. Vegetable 1, cherry tomatoes, the most popular food plant in the American home garden, and the one with the biggest gap between what you grow yourself and what you buy at the store. The tomato sitting in your grocery store right now was picked 7 to 10 days before it was actually ripe. Not because it tastes better that way, because it survives the shipping process that way. By the time it reaches your hand, that tomato has been in refrigerated transport, sitting in a distribution center, and aging on a shelf. What you are biting into is not a ripe tomato. It is a tomato that was engineered to look ripe. Your container cherry tomato is a completely different experience. It ripens completely on the vine before you ever touch it. The flavor difference is not subtle. Once you eat a homegrown cherry tomato at peak ripeness, going back to store-bought feels like a genuine loss. Ask anyone who has grown them. One established cherry tomato plant in the right container produces pounds of fruit continuously from midsummer through the first frost. At current grocery store prices for cherry tomatoes, $4 to $6 per pint, one container plant produces $40 to $80 worth of tomatoes in a single season from a pot the size of a 5-gallon bucket. Container size, 10 gallons minimum for cherry tomatoes, 15 gallons for larger varieties. 1 plant per container. 2 plants competing for root space reduces yield in both. Use light-colored containers in USDA, zones 7 through 10. Dark pots absorb heat and can raise soil temperature high enough to shut down flower production at the exact moment you want maximum fruit set. Best varieties for containers. Sweet 100 for the most prolific continuous production available in a cherry type. Sun Gold for the sweetest flavor of any cherry tomato currently on the American market. Tumbling Tom for hanging baskets and railing planters. Trailing habit, no staking required, fruit cascades over the edge of the container. Full sun, minimum 6 hours daily. 8 is better. Water when the top inch of soil feels dry. Feed with slow-release fertilizer at planting and liquid fertilizer every 2 weeks once flowering begins. Tell me in the comments right now, what state are you in and have you ever grown tomatoes in a container? I want to know where this community is growing food across America. Drop it below. Vegetable 2, peppers. Red, orange, and yellow bell peppers are consistently among the most expensive vegetables at the American grocery store. $2 to $4 per pepper at most retailers right now. They are also slow starters that most gardeners give up on before they ever hit their stride. Do not give up on them. Here is why. Once peppers begin producing, they do not stop. A single well-grown container pepper plant produces 6 to 8 full bell peppers minimum, and significantly more if you are growing hot varieties like jalapenos or poblanos. At $2 to $4 per pepper, that is $12 to $32 of produce from one pot. And that production continues from midsummer through the first frost without a single additional investment beyond water and fertilizer. Here is what most gardening channels never tell you about peppers in containers. Peppers are warm soil plants. They establish slowly in cold soil and hit their stride once soil temperatures consistently exceed 65 degrees Fahrenheit. In zones 5 through 7, use dark-colored containers that absorb heat and warm the root zone faster in spring. In zones 8 through 10, reverse the strategy and use light-colored containers to prevent the root zone from overheating in peak summer heat. That one decision based on your zone changes your pepper production significantly. Container size, 12 to 14 inches deep minimum. Full sun all day. Slow-release fertilizer at planting. Support taller varieties with a stake or small cage as fruit weight develops. Best varieties, California Wonder for classic full-sized bell peppers. Jalapeno, early for the fastest producing hot variety with the most consistent yield. Mini bell for compact sweet peppers on plants that stay tidy and manageable in any container size. If you are watching this and not subscribed yet, hit that button right now. Not when this video ends. Right now. This channel puts out real zone-specific money-saving food-growing content every single week. Free. 2 seconds. Do it now. Vegetable 3. Lettuce. This is the highest return on investment vegetable on this entire list. Not per pound, per week, per season, per dollar spent. A seed packet of mixed salad greens costs $3 to $4 at any garden center or hardware store. That packet contains enough seeds to plant multiple containers and run continuous cut and come again production from early spring through late fall. One seed packet eliminates your bagged salad purchase for an entire growing season. At $5 to $7 per bag of pre-washed mixed greens at the grocery store, which is what most American households spend every single week. That one $3 seed packet saves you $20 to $30 per month for the entire growing season. Here is the technique that triples the value of every lettuce plant you grow. Cut and come again harvesting. Pick the outer leaves. Leave the center crown intact in the soil. The plant regrows new leaves within days and is ready to harvest again within 1 to 2 weeks. You are not harvesting a head of lettuce. You are running a continuous salad production system from one shallow container that never stops producing as long as temperatures stay reasonable. A single wide shallow container, 12 inches across and 6 inches deep, supports 10 to 12 leaf lettuce plants simultaneously. That is a significant weekly salad supply from a container smaller than a window box. Lettuce is a cool season crop. It bolts, goes to seed, and turns bitter in sustained hot weather. Plant in early spring and again in late summer. In zones 7 through 10, plant in partial shade during summer months to extend the productive season. In zones 3 through 6, lettuce is a spring and fall crop, 2 productive seasons per year from one container at almost zero cost. Best varieties? Black-seeded Simpson for the fastest loose leaf production. Butter Crunch for a compact butterhead that tolerates heat better than most varieties. Mesclun mix for continuous cut and come again harvest of multiple leaf types simultaneously. Vegetable 4, cucumbers. Cucumber prices have climbed consistently over the last 2 seasons, and cucumbers are also one of the most productive, fastest-yielding container vegetables available. A healthy plant produces cucumbers every few days at peak season. You cannot buy them as fast as a well-grown plant produces them. Container size, 5 gallons minimum, 12 inches deep. 1 plant per container, full sun, consistent moisture. Cucumbers are thirsty, and uneven watering produces bitter fruit. Here is what most gardening channels never tell you about cucumbers in containers. A vertical trellis is not just a support structure. It is a yield multiplier. Growing a cucumber plant vertically keeps fruit off the soil, eliminating the ground contact that causes rot and disease. It improves air circulation around the foliage, reducing the fungal pressure that kills cucumber plants in humid summer conditions. It makes every fruit visible and easy to harvest. An overripe cucumber left on the vine signals the plant to stop producing new flowers. Miss one overripe cucumber hidden under ground level foliage and your production drops. Grow vertically and you see every fruit harvest at the right time and keep the plant producing continuously. A 5-gallon container with a 5-foot trellis takes up the footprint of a single large pot. The production from that setup across a summer season is remarkable for the space it occupies. Best varieties: bush pickle and patio snacker. both bred specifically for container growing. Space Master for the most compact habit with strong production. All three are available at most American garden centers and major seed retailers. 4 vegetables in, and I want you to do one thing right now. Hit the like button. Every like tells YouTube this content is worth showing to Americans who are spending $150 to $200 per month on produce they could be growing on their porch. One tap, that is all it takes. Vegetable 5. Green beans. The container. Vegetable most American gardeners have never considered growing in a pot. That is a significant missed opportunity because bush variety green beans are among the most straightforward, most productive, and lowest maintenance container vegetables available. And they take up almost no vertical space. No staking, no trellis, no complicated care. Direct seed bush beans into a wide container after your last frost date. They germinate fast. They establish quickly. They begin producing beans within 50 to 60 days of planting. Fresh green beans at the grocery store run $2 to $4 per pound depending on variety and season. One well-planted wide container of bush beans produces multiple pounds across its productive window. Here is the succession planting strategy that converts one container of bush beans into a continuous production system. Plant a new container of bush beans every 3 weeks from your last frost date through midsummer. You are not waiting for one large harvest. You are running staggered production that delivers fresh beans from early summer through fall without a single gap in supply. Container size: 24 inches wide, minimum, 12 inches deep. Direct sow after last frost. Thin to 6 inches apart after germination. Full sun. Consistent moisture. One critical growing fact most gardeners miss: do not over-fertilize green beans with nitrogen. Green beans fix nitrogen from the atmosphere through their root systems through a symbiotic relationship with soil bacteria. Excess nitrogen produces lush foliage and very few pods. Use a low nitrogen balanced fertilizer, or no fertilizer at all after the plants are established. The beans will produce more heavily for it. Best varieties: Derby and Porch Pick for the most prolific production in containers. Both are widely available at garden centers across America. Vegetable 6. Kale. The most cold-hardy, most cut-and-come-again, most season-extending vegetable on this entire list, and the one that most Americans are paying the most for at the grocery store right now. Kale improves in flavor after frost. The cold converts stored starches in the leaves to sugars, producing sweeter, more complex, more flavorful leaves than anything you can buy at any grocery store at any price point. Your container kale in October tastes better than your container kale in July. It is the only vegetable on this list that gets more valuable as the season gets harder. In zones 6 through 9, kale produces from early spring through late fall, a productive window that spans most of the American growing calendar. In zones 3 through 5, it handles hard frosts that would destroy every warm season crop on this list. A container of kale sitting on a porch in November in zone 5 is still producing leaves you can harvest and eat. Nothing else on this list does that. Container size: 12 inches deep, minimum. 6 inches of depth is the published minimum, but 12 inches produces more vigorous plants with deeper root systems that handle heat and cold stress significantly better. Cut leaves from the outside of the plant, leaving the central growing crown intact. New leaves emerge from the center within days. The same plant continues producing for the entire growing season, spring through hard freeze, without replacement. That is the complete harvest strategy. Best varieties: dwarf blue, curled vates for the most compact habit with high yield in containers, dwarf Siberian for sweeter flavor, and strong performance in partial sunlight. The best choice for porches that do not get full sun all day. Subscribe right now if you have not already. Hit the bell, because the next video is already coming and you should not miss it. The gardeners and food growers who subscribe today are the ones whose grocery bills look different by this time next summer. Be one of them. Vegetable 7. Zucchini. The most productive vegetable per plant on this entire list. One well-grown container, zucchini plant produces over 20 pounds of fruit in a good season. At current grocery store prices for fresh zucchini, that is $30 to $50 worth of produce from a single container. And that production comes from a plant that asks almost nothing beyond consistent water, full sun, and a container large enough to support its root system. Container size: 5 gallons minimum, 12 inches deep. One plant per container. Zucchini needs room and air circulation. Light-colored containers in zones 7 through 10 prevent root zone overheating in peak summer. Here is what most gardening channels never tell you about zucchini in containers. The first flowers a zucchini plant produces are male, pollen producers with no fruit behind the bloom. They open and drop without producing any zucchini. This is normal. Do not panic. The female flowers follow within 1 to 2 weeks. A female flower has a small, immature zucchini visible behind the bloom. That is the fruit you are waiting for. In a container on a porch or balcony, natural pollinator access may be limited compared to an open garden. Hand pollinate, transfer pollen from a male flower to the center of a female flower using a small paintbrush or your finger. That one technique eliminates the most common complaint container zucchini growers have. Flowers, but no fruit. 15 seconds of work per plant per day during flowering. The production difference is significant. Pick zucchini at 6 to 8 inches long. Do not wait for them to grow large. A zucchini left on the plant beyond that size signals the plant to slow down new fruit production. Harvest young, harvest often, and the plant keeps producing all season. Best varieties: Patio Star, specifically bred for container growing with a compact habit and high yield. Bush Baby stays under 2 feet wide, produces full-sized fruit, and is the most manageable option for tight porch and balcony spaces. Vegetable 8. Carrots. The surprise on this list. The one most gardeners have never considered growing in a container, and the one that delivers the most dramatic quality difference between homegrown and store-bought of any vegetable here. A carrot pulled from your own container and eaten within the hour has a sweetness and crunch that commercially grown carrots simply cannot match. The sugar content in a freshly harvested carrot begins converting to starch the moment the root leaves the soil. Every day between harvest and your plate reduces the flavor. The carrot you buy at the grocery store was harvested weeks before you eat it. Yours goes from soil to your hand in seconds. They are genuinely not the same vegetable. Container size: 12 inches deep, minimum for standard varieties. 8 inches is sufficient for shorter round varieties. This is the non-negotiable requirement for carrots in containers. Depth determines everything. A container that is too shallow produces stunted, forked, misshapen roots regardless of how well you manage everything else. Use loose, rock-free potting mix. Rocks and clumps cause roots to fork and split. The physical environment of the growing medium is as important as the container depth. Water consistently. Uneven moisture, wet then dry then wet, causes cracking and splitting in the developing roots. Consistent moisture from germination through harvest produces clean, straight, sweet roots. Thin seedlings to 3 inches apart after germination. The thinnings are edible baby carrots. Nothing goes to waste. Best varieties for containers: Chantenay Red Core for the most reliable performance in containers, wide shoulders, and short length that thrives in 8 to 12 inch depths. Paris Market for the most compact round variety. Perfect for shallow containers, and genuinely fun to grow. Nantes for a classic sweet flavor in a 12-inch deep container that consistently outperforms store-bought in taste comparisons. Here is the complete setup guide before you spend a single dollar. Every container needs a minimum of 3 drainage holes. Waterlogged soil is the #1 killer of container vegetables, ahead of drought, ahead of pests, ahead of neglect combined. If water cannot drain, roots suffocate and rot. No exceptions. Container size determines your maintenance load more than any other single decision. A plant in a small 6-inch pot in midsummer heat needs water twice a day. The same plant in a 16-inch container needs water every 2 to 3 days. Bigger containers mean less frequent watering, more stable root temperatures, and more consistent yields. Never go smaller than the minimum sizes I gave you for each vegetable on this list. Soil mix determines whether everything else works or fails. Do not use garden soil in containers. It compacts, drains poorly, and becomes concrete in a pot within 1 season. Do not use cheap potting mix that is mostly bark. It dries out too fast and provides almost no nutrition. The correct recipe is 50% quality potting mix, 30% coarse perlite for drainage and aeration, and 20% compost for slow-release nutrition. Mix it once per season. That combination drains well, holds enough moisture, feeds the plants slowly, and gives roots the oxygen-rich environment they need to produce at their maximum potential. Every spring, remove the top 2 inches of old potting mix and replace with fresh compost and slow-release granular fertilizer. 10 minutes per container, once per year. That is your complete annual soil maintenance for every vegetable on this list. You do not need a yard, you do not need a garden bed. You need a pot, the right soil mix, the right variety, and the information I just gave you. 8 vegetables, 8 containers, a porch, a balcony, or a driveway, and a grocery bill that starts looking different every single week from first harvest through last frost. Drop 2 things in the comments before you go. What state or zone are you gardening in? And which of these 8 vegetables are you putting in a container first this season? I read every single comment. I respond to as many as I can. Your answers shape the next video directly. Now go fill those containers. Your grocery store has been charging you too much for too long for food you could be growing 10 feet from your front door.